Hello there and welcome to Rajiv Gandhi IAS Academy. This is me Nawazish Nihal and I will be discussing about budget, and this is a two-part series of budget, and in this part we will be discussing the polity nature of the budget, means the constitutional part and different provisions and different stages of budget. And in the next part we will be dealing core economic section of budget, and especially this 2021 and 2022 budget. So moving on with this session, that is the constitutional part. So first we have to define what is budget. So that is defined under article 112, and that is defined as an annual financial statement. So we have to be careful that the word budget is not there anywhere in the constitution. So the word is annual financial statement, and UPSC can twist around this fact. So suppose they can say that in a yes or no, like a multiple choice A and B type, that budget is mentioned in constitution or not, what budget is mentioned is there or not. So UPSC has if we will see the previous year question of prelim, there were questions that suppose this word is there or not. So budget is not there in the constitution, and it is an annual financial statement and covered under article 12. So moving on with the components of the budget. So there are different components of budget. So the first component estimates the revenue and capital receipt. So what are the revenue receipt? So revenue receipt are basically those receipts which create assets and do not decrease assets or do not increase liability. For example, the taxes we are getting, the taxes government is getting from different kind of provision, that come under revenue receipt. And capital receipts are those kind of receipt which the asset is reduced or the liability is increased. Okay, so either asset is getting reduced or both are same thing, liability is getting increased. For example, disinvestment. Suppose government is trying to sell a certain part of a PSU, that will be disinvestment. Although by selling those shares government will be making money, but that will be reducing the asset of the government, so that will come under capital receipt. And also government will discuss ways and means to raise the revenue, means what are the different kind of taxes government gonna introduce in this, how government gonna raise revenue through like road or toll tax or different kind of avenues through which government will raise the revenue of the consolidated fund or the government fund. And we will definitely discuss what is this CFI, Consolidated Fund of India, uh, in coming part. So this will be discussed, and also estimates of expenditure will be discussed, that in which sector, in which department government gonna give how much money. Interestingly, in this budget only under this highway authority they have discussed the expenditure, and rest of the department have not discussed it yet. So maybe at the later stage they will discuss it, but as for the knowledge, the only the road and transport ministry have discussed the expenditure till now. And also it is components of a budget is the actual receipt and expenditure of the closing financial, means suppose this is 2021-22, so that will also say have a look of the expenditure and the receipt or the money received in 2019 and 2020, that through which sources government have like acquired how much wealth, and through which sources government expended those wealth, that will be also there in the budget the of previous year. And also they will say that also they will have an economic and financial policy of the coming year. Coming year means 2021-2022. So this is the thing with the budget, and different things are like taxation proposal and similar things which we already know would be are the components of budget. So moving on, so what are different constitutional provision for budget? So the first constitutional provision which we have to know is that President shall, in respect of every financial year, cause to be laid before both House of Parliament a statement of estimated receipt and expenditure of the government in India for that year. For example, this year, Rashtrapati President Kovind has had a joint session of both house of parliament just before the start of the budget, on 1st February it is released, so on 31st January president held a joint session of the parliament, and he discussed the estimated receipt and expenditure of government for that year. So in 2019-20, what government has did and how much money government acquired and how it has expended it in the expenditure part, all were discussed by the president. And in this, the no demand for grant shall be made, okay, until and unless the president is saying that okay, we will acquire some grants also. So nothing for demand wise, nothing is made here, just like a simple monologue from the president is there. And also, no money shall be withdrawn from Consolidated Fund of India except under appropriation made by law. So this is the core of the budget. At the end of the budget, there is this appropriation made by law, that the parliament appropriate the budget so that the money can be acquired from Consolidated Fund of India, so that by law money could be taken from Consolidated Fund of India. So what is this Consolidated Fund? So this is basically a fund where all the money of Indians are there, and I will be discussing in this video only. So like, and also some other provisions are: no money bill imposing tax shall be introduced in parliament except on the recommendation of president, and such a bill shall not be introduced in Rajya Sabha. Okay, so until and unless president is giving an approval, that budget could not, because budget is a money bill, it cannot be imposed in parliament without the recommendation from president, and it can also not be introduced in Rajya Sabha. This could be a question when it comes to UPSC, because UPSC has the habit of picking up the things, so they can truth or false, uh, which of the following statement are correct, and in that they might give one statement that such a bill, that a budget can be introduced in Rajya Sabha. So that statement would be wrong. So it cannot be introduced in Rajya Sabha. It can only be introduced in Lok Sabha, and that too by the prior recommendation of the president. And no tax shall be levied or collected except by the authority of law. So arbitrary collection of law, taxes should not be there until and unless a law is made on that. And parliament can reduce or abolish a tax but cannot increase it. Until and unless a law is being made, the tax on common people cannot be increased. Although it can reduce it or can completely abolish it, but it cannot increase it. And some other constitutional provisions are also there regarding the power of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha in this budget. So the first is: a money bill or financial bill dealing with taxation cannot be introduced in Rajya Sabha. Okay, I have discussed it, and it must be introduced only in Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha has no power to vote on demands for grants. Means after budget is introduced, many departments of government and many ministry of government ask for grants. Okay, so that could not be asked in Rajya Sabha. It is the exclusive privilege of Lok Sabha. In Lok Sabha only those kind of demands can be asked. Okay, and the Rajya Sabha should return the money bill to the Lok Sabha within 40 days. Okay, and if after 40 days they are not returning it, that bill deemed to be passed. Okay, and the Lok Sabha can either accept the recommendation that is made by Rajya Sabha, and or completely ignore it. There is no necessary that Lok Sabha have to take the recommendation of Rajya Sabha in this. They can completely ignore this also. And also the estimate of expenditure in the budget shall show separately the expenditure on the Consolidated Fund of India and expenditure made from Consolidated Fund of India, like how much money we are giving into the CFI and how much money we are taking back from the CFI. That should be there in the budget. And the budget shall distinguish expenditure on revenue account from other expenditure. Means what are things we are doing for the revenue of this country, that should be there in the budget. Okay, and also one important point regarding Consolidated Fund, for the now for just for basic understanding, suppose this is a big bank, and here all the money are being deposited and government can withdraw it by passing a bill. So this big bank or whatever we can say it, just think of that as a consolidated fund. Okay, and I will discuss it, but for now just think of Consolidated Fund of India as that. So the expenditure charge of Consolidated Fund of India shall not be submitted to vote of parliament. However, it can be discussed by the parliament. Okay, so whatever the expenditure which is charged should not be discussed, should not be go for vote in parliament. It can be discussed, but it cannot go for vote. Okay, so moving on, see here we have said that charged expenditure cannot be discussed in the, like, cannot go for vote in the parliament. So what is like this charge in the expenditure, and what is this Consolidated Fund of India, we have to know now. So as I have said earlier, that this is Consolidated Fund of India is basically a fund from where all the money of the budget is being taken care of, and all the budget related monetary instrument are there in Consolidated Fund of India. So basically the budget consists of two type of expenditure. First one is the charged upon the Consolidated Fund of India, and the expenditure made from the Consolidated Fund of India. Okay, so first is that is charged, and this cannot go for vote, although this can be discussed. So what are the charged expenditure on CFI of Consolidated Fund of India? So basically the list of charge expenditure are those which government have to like expend this kind of this sum of money. Like government have to give some salary, government have to take care of some institution. So those kind of thing come under charge expenditure on CFI, on which no vote can be done on parliament, only discussion can be done. Like parliament cannot go on vote like how much salary should Supreme Court judge should take, because that will like undermine the authority of different kind of institution. So like parliament cannot simply go for vote on that. So what are the different charge expenditure on CFI? So the first charge expenditure which is there is like salary and emoluments of president is there, that cannot be go for voting. Okay, chairman and deputy chairman of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Okay, and also the speaker and deputy speaker of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, their salary and emoluments and allowances cannot go for vote. Okay, and also similarly judge of Supreme Court, judge of pension of the judges of High Court. Here the keyword is pension of High Court judges. Suppose if a judge is there, a High Court judge is there, that salary of the judge will be bared by state government, and that will be not from charged expenditure. But as soon as that judge retired, the High Court judge retired, the pension of that High Court judge will come from charge expenditure on CFI. Okay, and also similarly, the CAG, that is Controller Auditor of Auditor General of India, his salary and allowance is from this CFI only. And similarly, member of UPSC, like not those IS and IPS, but member of UPSC, those IS and IPS that will come under Department of Personnel and Training, DOPT. But the member of UPSC, those person who are selecting those, so those people's salary and allowances is from CFI. And also administrative expenses of this institute, president, Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha, Supreme Court, CAG, UPSC, these also come under the CFI. Also the debt charge for which the government of India is liable, means suppose government have to give take suppose in corona time, so government took a loan from World Bank. So government, anyhow government have to give that loan back. So those kind of thing also come from this CFI. Okay, and any sum required to satisfy any judgment, decree or award. Suppose Supreme Court said that, suppose a case is going on in Supreme Court for a particular tribe, and Supreme Court said that this tribe need to have 5 crore rupees will should be given to this tribe for like development of their village or whatever the thing is. So this 5 crore rupees should come from CFI. So that is the thing. And any other expenditure that is declared by parliament will be charged from CFI. So these are the expenditure that have to happen. Okay, and yearly plan could not be met because these are basic structure of government and basic things which, and if their expenditure is under vote, there that will definitely undermine the authority of this institution. So the charge expenditure or CFI on are on these institutes. So similarly, moving on, the with the different stages on the enactment of budget. So basically, like, there are six stages on the enactment of budget, and I'll be dealing those stages stepwise. So the first stage is like finance minister present the budget on February 1. Then there is this general discussion on different aspect of the budget. Then departmental committees scrutinize that budget, and then whatever the recommendation made by departmental committees, voting is done, and then a bill is passed so that money can be withdrawn from CFI. Without this bill, no money could be withdrawn from CFI, and that is under constitution. And also there is this finance bill is passed for different kind of taxation or different kind of tax we have to give to government. For that there is finance bill, and for taking money from CFI there is this appropriation bill. So, like, stepwise I will be discussing all these things. So first is the presentation of budget, and we all know finance minister present the general budget with a speech known as budget speech, but which is generally given on February 1st. Previously it was like on March 1st, but there is a reason, and I will discuss the reason also why it is shifted to February 1 all. Okay, so that is the thing, and that is can only be presented in Lok Sabha, and that too with the prior approval from the president, and it cannot be like presented in Rajya Sabha, and no power to vote on demands of grants. No demand of grant is taken at this moment. Okay, this is just a like monologue, which like was done by our finance minister recently, Nirmala Sitharaman, and she did present a budget. And after this presentation of budget, what happens is that there is a general discussion on budget, which begins after like a few days after its presentation, and this take places in both house. So this could be a question that general discussion happen only in Rajya Sabha or only in Lok Sabha, although the points made under Rajya Sabha do not have that much of like polity basis, or like they cannot like make a pressure group, but those things can be heard country wise. So the discussion made in Rajya Sabha also upon the budget have a greater emphasis on this budget. Okay, and in this during this stage, the Lok Sabha can discuss the budget as a whole or any question of principle involved. Okay, but no cut motion could be moved here. Cut motion should not be moved here. Will not be there. Okay, and what are these cut motion? We will discuss it. Okay, and also the finance minister has a general right to reply at the end of the discussion. Finance minister have the right that if there is some peculiar like question from any party, means any member of parliament, she or he can reply to that. Okay, and after this general discussion there is this scrutiny by departmental committees. So currently there are 24 departmental committees, and in each departmental committees I guess there are 31 members, 21 from Lok Sabha and 10 from Rajya Sabha. So if you can look up to this, I'm like, this is that I think, I'm not sure, but please look upon this. Okay, so 24 departmental committees are there, both of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha member. And what they do is that after the general discussion, what happened, that the house is adjourned for about like 3 to 4 weeks, and during this adjournment period, during this gap, the 24 departmental standing committee, also in short form they are known as DPSC. For example, there's the departmental commission on IT, departmental commission of human resources, like that is there. So okay, so what they do is they like discuss in detail the demands of grants of different kind of concerned ministry, and like they prepare reports on them. So these reports are submitted to both house of the parliament, okay, both to Rajya Sabha and to Lok Sabha. They submit a report that, okay, this is the finding they have gone, and this ministry need this kind of budget, this ministry need this kind of money. So these kind of things are like discussed. The report is presented to both houses, okay. And regarding this DPSC, departmental uh, com- uh, committees, okay, what they do is that they were basically in 1993 this was like founded, and in 2004 it is expanded into like 24 departmental committees. And they make a parliamentary financial control over minister, and they like do a in-depth analysis of what different things should be there, okay. So this departmental standing committees of parliament is this, okay. The scrutiny of the complete budget is done by them. So after that scrutiny is done and the report is submitted in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, there is a voting, general voting. So in the lights of the reports of the departmental standing committee, so the Lok Sabha do a voting on demands, and the demands are presented ministry wise. So Lok Sabha do a voting, Rajya Sabha is not there in the voting, and the demands become a grant after it is like voted down, okay. So the demand after getting vote turns into grants, okay. This is the thing, and here we have to notice 2 points. That is, first is that voting on demands for grant is the exclusive privilege of Lok Sabha, not Rajya Sabha. So Rajya Sabha is not here. And also, the second thing which we have to notice in this is that voting is confined to the votable part of the budget, okay. So like I have discussed here, the charged and the thing on CFI charge expenditure. So the voting is not there on this charge expenditure, only the voting part, and the charge expenditure of the CFI do not come under the voting part, okay. So charge CFI voting is not done. CFI means Consolidated Fund of India. So charge expenditure on the Consolidated Fund of India do not put under voting. And I have already discussed what is this. So while the general budget has a total of like 109 demands, okay, 103 for civil expenditure and 6 for defense expenditure, railway budget was like about 32 demands. And we all know that in 2017, in 16 only, this was scrapped, and now both of them are merged together into a single budget. So that is happening. And what is happening is that in these stages there are different cut motion which are like put, okay. So what are these cut motion, we will discuss this. So the first is policy cut motion. In this policy cut motion, it represents the disapproval of the policy underlying the committee. In this, the member of the parliament will vote upon that the complete expenditure on some policy should be abolished to rupees 1, okay. So that is a serious stroke on the government if a policy cut motion is passed. That means the government has fallen down, because if you are enjoying the majority in parliament, then no one will have a problem with the budget you are presenting. And then there is this economic cut motion. What is happening in economic cut motion? The member of parliament generally made a discussion that this sum should not be there. The proposed sum should be like come down, and or maybe like transferred to other thing. So this kind of economy cut, like a portion of the budget allocated for certain fund or certain scheme is cut it down, okay. It is like concerned to a scheme or like a project like that. Suppose government is saying that they will give like 30,000 crore for building of roads, but but parliament decided no, 30,000 crore is too much, only 20,000 crore will do. So economic cut motion is like that. So also economic cut motion, these all cut motion have no relevance in practical cases, because suppose if that cut motion is passed, that is like saying that government do not enjoy the majority, and it will put government at stake if a cut motion is passed in parliament. And then there is this token cut motion. In this is just a token representation that the scheme of the government is like they do not agree with the scheme, and they will say that okay, just cut rupees 100 from from that mo- from that scheme, or the expenditure which the government gonna do on those things. So like this will give a message that okay, the parliamentarian is not happy with this, and there are certain condition which must be satisfied, that it should be related to one demand only, and it should be clearly expressed, and it should not relate to a matter that is under adjugation by court, or like it should not relate the expenditure under the CFI, Consolidated Fund of India. And these are different demands which needs to be satisfied by presenting that token cut motion. And there are a lot of significance of this cut motion. First significance is that it facilitates the initiation of a concentrated discussion on the demands. Okay, so government cannot go free hand. Okay, they have to know that okay, cut motion can happen. And also it uphold the principle of responsible government by probing the activities, like what government is doing from this money. So people are also probing the government. So second achievement of this cut motion is this. So for like we have come on the voting on demands. Now we have covered these four stages, that the presentation is done, discussion on budget is done, scrutiny by departmental committees is done. They have also voted like which kind of demands are like for defense ministry this much rupees, okay, voted down, given. Finance ministry this much rupees given, okay. Science and tech ministry this much is given, okay. Environment ministry this much, so and so forth. Like this kind of voting is done with that, okay, all the demands are now approved. And then after which these demands are approved, there is this appropriation bill, which is very necessary to form a budget, because no money shall be withdrawn from CFI. No money shall be withdrawn from CFI, okay, except under appropriation made by law. Okay, this is under the Constitution of India, and Constitution clearly defines this thing. So a bill should be passed. Okay, so appropriation means just like a formal request, formality, that okay, this thing is now formal, government is gonna have this much money. Okay, so accordingly an appropriation bill is introduced to provide the appropriation of the CFI, and all money required to meet the grant of Lok Sabha and the expenditure charge on the CFI, all things are taken care of. Okay, so and similarly after the approval of the president, when the president approved this that okay, this much money can be taken from the CFI, the appropriation bill now became an appropriation act, because now it is passed. Okay, so like this act authorized the payment from CFI. This means that the government cannot withdraw money from the CFI till the enactment of this bill, and this provision is known. And also there is this thing that previously what was happening, as I have discussed earlier, that previously on 31st of March, on sorry, on 1st of March, this suppose bill is presented and the budget is presented. Okay, so what was happening, that there was this window, like for example all the process of the budget takes time, all these five stages takes time, all this like six stages basically takes time. mm, Suppose bill is passed on budget is there on 1st of March, then after 31st March the new financial year will come, but still the budget is under prepare. So what we have to do from this kind of money, we government need money to run the country, but the budget is still under process. So what should be done under this kind of thing? Okay, so they here a term has came, that is vote on account. Okay, vote on account. So this is like a very beautiful term, which was like we can see like a jugar kind of concept here is. What is happening is that under this provision, what is happening, if this is passed after general discussion of budget is over, it grant for 2 months from an amount equivalent to one sixth of the total estimation. What that mean, that after that second stage, after the discussion is over, government can present a vote on account from which the government can like withdraw 1 by 6th of the money that is there in the CFI through this vote on account for 2 months. Okay, so this is like because the budget is still under preparation, so that is the reason why the date is shifted from 1st March to 1st Feb, so that 1 month is saved here, and until and unless budget is prepared, no money is withdrawn from this. Okay, so this thing is done, appropriation bill is done, and without the appropriation bill no money can be withdrawn from Consolidated Fund of India. And after this appropriation bill there is this finance bill. So the finance bill is introduced to give effect to the financial proposal of the government of India, like all the taxes we are gonna do, and it is based on Provisional Collection of Tax Act of 1931. Provisional Collection of Tax Act 1931. So for tax we need a separate bill, that is a financial bill. So the financial bill is introduced to give effect of financial proposal of the government of India for that year, and it is subjected to all the condition applicable to a money bill. Okay, so through all the process which a money bill will go, this bill will similarly go will with that process only. Unlike the appropriation bill, the amendment can be moved in the case of financial bill. Amendment can be done in this financial bill. Okay, so these were the different stages of the budget. So I guess now you have an idea how a budget is presented. First is it is presented, then discussion, then departmental committees of parliament do a scrutiny of that discussion, and then voting is done based on the departmental committees. So all these things are connected to each other. If we just remove one step, that then the budget will not be completed and we will be like go haywire. So we have to remember these six steps. Okay, so these are simple. And moving on, we have to now comes to some grants also, because there are various grant except this budget which is there in our constitution. So these grants are like different grants are there in addition to the budget, that contains the ordinary estimate of like income and expenditure of a financial year, and various other grants are made by parliament under extraordinary or special circumstances. And the first is like supplementary grant. What is got in this is done, so it is basically granted when the amount authorized by the parliament through different appropriation act for a particular service of the current financial year is found to be insufficient. So the keyword here is insufficient fund. Suppose like government is saying that 50,000 crore is enough for health, but unprecedented COVID happened, 50,000 would not do. So like now a supplementary grant would be added, like 10,000 crore more. So like insufficient fund was there, so that was done. So the keyword here is if insufficient fund is there, insufficient funds are there, then this grant should be like given, authorized. And then there is this additional grant. So what is this? That it is basically granted when need has arisen due to the current financial of additional expenditure upon some new service. Suppose like a new department is made, so a new service is there, so that is not in the budget. So key word here is the new service. This is the thing, and it's new service or which is not there in the budget, not in budget. Okay, so that is additional grant. And supplementary grant is insufficient fund. And then there is excess grant. So it is basically granted when money has been spent on service during a financial year in excess of the amount that is was actually granted for the service in budget. So okay, so it is like voted by the Lok Sabha after the financial year, before the demand of excess grant are submitted to Lok Sabha in voting basically, and they must be approved by Public Accounts Committee of Parliament. So Public Accounts Committee should approve this excess grant. So here the keyword are two: PAC, Public Account Committee, and excess grants. It means excess money is required. I will definitely discuss what this Public Account Committee is. So after this Public Account Committee, there is this after this excess grant, there is this vote of credit. So what is happening in vote of credit is that it is granting for meeting an unexpected demand that happened, which is basically to upon the resources of India, and when on account of magnitude of indefinite character of the service basically. And like this demand cannot be stated with the details that is given in the budget. COVID is the best example for this. It is unprecedented. Even the economic survey said that it is unprecedented, and we all know. So like it is like a blank check. Okay, whatever the money they need, government can issue money from CFI due to this vote of credit. Basically the word is credit here. They can take anything that is thing. Okay, and a special grant is like a special purpose, and for emergency purpose we can say. And that is nothing is discussed in the financial year and that is happening. That is exceptional grant, and also similarly exceptional purpose is here. And then there is this token grant, and in this it is granted when funds to meet the proposed expenditure or a new service is made by reappropriation. And similarly rupees 1 is like taken. Similarly token is taken that okay, this service has been started by the government. Okay, so this is the thing with different kind of grants. So supplementary grant for insufficient fund, additional grant for new service, excess grant approved by PAC, public accounts committee, for excess amount of money government need. Vote of credit is like basically a blank check taken by the government. Exceptional grant for emergency service, for exceptional service. Token grant, similarly rupees 1 is taken that okay, if this service is started by the government. Okay, so now moving on with the exceptional grant and all this grant, we will come across different funds from starting of this lecture. I am telling what CFI, and this now I have told about PSC. So what is this all like? Consolidated fund and public account fund and contingency fund. So we will now discuss that. So first we will discuss Consolidated Fund of India, the most important fund. So it is basically a fund which all receipt are credited, means all the revenue, all the receipt are credited in here. And all the receipt first which is like taken from government of India. Okay, all loan and the interest on the loan issued by the treasury bills, and like advances loan by the government. Okay, loan by government. Okay, and all money received by government in repayment of loan. Okay, repayments of loan, all these go to like what? Consolidated Fund of India. Basically the money that is government is handling with, and no common people is there in this kind of exchange. Okay, basically government is handling all the legally authorized payments on behalf of government of India are made of on this fund. Okay, and no money of this can be issued except what? Except appropriation bill. Okay, so appropriation bill is made, whole budget is made to have money from this consolidated fund. Okay, so after this consolidated fund comes the public accounts of India. Okay, and here the keyword is public, public account. Okay, so the keyword here is public. So all other public money other than that are in CFI actually received on the behalf of government of India is will be credited in public accounts of India. And this include like provident fund, PF we give, and also the judicial deposit. Suppose government is telling that okay, you are without helmet, a challan would be done, 5,000 challan, that will come under like go under public accounts of India. So all the penalty we are giving, all the saving bank deposit we are giving, all the departmental deposit and remittance. Okay, personal saving deposit, that will come under public accounts. Okay, so these are basically parts of economy, but still we have to like cover this in polity section only. Okay, and this account is operated by executive action. The keyword here is executive action, and no direct government action. Executive action is there, and that is the payment from this account can be made without parliamentary appropriation. Okay, and such payments are mostly in nature of banking transaction, mostly banking transaction. Okay, so these are not just banking but mostly banking transaction is there. And no parliament authority is needed here. Okay, no parliament authority is needed, simple executive action. RTM can say okay, government we need this much money, that would be done. Okay, so, similarly we are giving this to the local authority. Similarly PF, provident fund, is directly going to our our provident fund account. So public is directly indulge in this kind of transaction or the funds. And then after this, there is this contingency fund. So there in Constitution of India authorized the parliament to establish this contingency fund. So the word is here similarly contingency means what means like in emergency. So the fund is placed at the disposal of the president. So whenever the president see that okay, this emergency have arose, so the president can give this fund on the authority of the parliament, okay, and he can make advances of it to meet unforeseen expenditure. And the fund is like held by finance secretary on behalf of president. So who held this fund? Finance secretary. See, this kind of fact became important because as we are saying that now the prelims especially became more fact based. If we are saying like the previous 2 year question, these all things became are turning into a fact based thing instead of a concept based thing. Although concept is there in this fact, but we have to like know our fact also. So this is the complete structure of different budget and provisions. So a quick recap what I have done. So I have discussed what budget is, article 112. Then I have discussed the component of budget, what is there can be done in the what are there these things which are there in the budget. Then I have discussed constitutional provision, how a president do joint setting, and how what Rajya Sabha can do, what Lok Sabha can do, and what is this CFI. Okay, then what is this charge expenditure which is there in CFI on which no voting can be done, and which all thing come under charge expenditure. I have discussed that. Then after that I have discussed all these stages of budget. Okay, presentation, how it is done, what is general discussion, then with that this scrutiny by departmental committees of standing committees of parliament. Okay, and then after this scrutiny that go to voting. And after this voting, inside that voting different cut motion are there, but although we know that cut motion are basically not that much efficient when it comes to proving the majority, because government enjoys the majority, so no one can go against the government for like in especially in cases of budget. So this is not a practical approach, but still that is there, so that accountability is met. And after this we have like appropriation bill. Without the appropriation bill no money can be taken from CFI, consolidated fund. And then for tax purposes we have this financial bill, and that is treated as money bill, not as an appropriation bill. And after that I have said various grants, like these kind of grants are there, except the appropriation bill, this kind of grants which parliament enjoys, so that parliament can take money for different kind of prospect which are not covered in the budget. So after this there is are different funds under the constitution of parliament. So CFI, what is CFI? Consolidated fund. What is public accounts of India? What is contingency fund? I have discussed that. So this is the complete polity part of the budget, and I hope you liked it, and I hope you that you got it. So please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, do subscribe to our Telegram channel. We are like giving daily news analysis on our Telegram channel and on our website also. So I will post on the post the link on the on the on the bottom below, so you can take it. So okay, thank you, have a great day.